Hello WinCraps fans. Today I'd like to take a look at a strategy called Lightswitch. It's by Hawaii Craps Shooters, and you can find them listed in the description below, or right here I have it listed as a URL at the top of the script. Let me walk you through basically what the system is. We'll describe the AutoBet script a little bit more in detail a moment later, but just first of all, the system is done in a series of steps. In step number 1 on the come out roll, you're going to bet $150 on don't pass, $150 on lay 4, and $150 on lay 10. We've got a counter here for a number of hits for place bets for later, but we're just resetting it to 0 right now. Then we're going to go through the come out roll, and if it's 2, 3, 7, 11, 12, then of course it's going to remain come out roll. So we're going to stay on step 1. We're just going to keep repeating this these $150 bets until we establish a point. Once we establish a point, and when the don't pass is greater than 0, then we're going to go on to step 2. Drop down to step 2. We're going to bet $25 on all the inside place bets, removing the place bet that describes the point. And since we're only betting on the inside place bets, then if the point happened to be 4, this statement right here would just be moot. It really wouldn't do anything because, for instance, it would say remove place 4, but there is no place 4, so it doesn't really matter. But at this point, we would also remove the lay 4 and the lay 10 bet. Brian is using those kind of as just protection to get past the come out roll. Then, to determine if the point is an inside number, 5, 6, 8, or 9, we're going to bet $5 on the hard 4, $5 on the hard 10, and $15 on the hard point number. Now, this statement here, obviously if the point were 6, you would bet $15 on hard 6, no problem. If the point were 8, $15 on hard 8. What if the point were 5? Can you bet $15 on hard 5? No, there's no such number. But that's fine. There's no problem with that because the WinCraps AutoBet knows that there's no such thing as a hard 5. So when you attempt to do it, it just says, well, that's not a correct bet, and it ignores it. So we can just use this blanket statement to bet the hard ways that we want, and we don't have to go through and break down and say, well, if it's a 6 and an 8, then we can bet on the hard point number. In this case, everything is taken care of for us. If the point happens to be 4 or 10, then what he's going to do is bet $230 on the don't pass odds, and then depending upon whether the point is a 4 or a 10, he's going to bet $5 on the opposite number. For instance, if the point is 4, he wants to bet $5 on hard 10. If the point is 10, he wants to bet $5 on hard 4. Now this is kind of a way you can write it out. There's no problem with this, but I want to show you a little trick here. Delete a few lines and make the code a little bit simpler. We're going to delete these lines, and we're going to make one line here that says bet $5 on hard 14 minus point. So it's just a little bit of math here that actually figures out what the sister number is. Since we want to bet a hard way on the opposite number, so let's say the point is 4, we want to bet on a hard 10. So it would say 14 minus the point of 4 is 10, so it becomes hard 10. On the other hand, let's say the point is 10. It comes in here and says 14 minus 10 is 4, so it bets on hard 4. So it's just a tiny little trick, and it just cleans it up a bit. So anyway, you make those bets, and then it says you're next going to move on to step 3. That doesn't happen immediately. It drops through and then waits till the next roll, and it'll come down to this point right here where it says if we're on step 3. So if we are on step 3, it's going to start looking for these wins. Remember I mentioned there was a win counter? So it's going to say if any of the place bets win or hard bets win, then we're going to start adding 1 to this counter. And once we get to 2 hits, if we get to 2 hits, then we're going to take action. If we don't have 2 hits, it's just going to keep going until we get to that point. So on 2 hits, it's going to bet $15 on all the inside place bets, remove the don't pass odds, remove hard 6 and hard 8. It's going to bet $2 on the hard 4 and the hard 10. And if the point is any inside number, he's going to make this bet he calls Lightswitch. And that is betting $150 on the place defined by the point. So in other words, if it's an inside point, 5, 6, 8, or 9, let's say the point is 9, he's going to bet $150 on place 9. So what he's basically doing is this, say the point is 9, and you already have a don't pass bet that is on the 9. And now he's going to make a place bet in the same amount on the 9. So now, if you were to roll a 7, you would win the don't pass bet, you would lose the place 9 bet, so they're just kind of a wash. On the other hand, if you make the 9, you're going to make money that pays more than 150, so that will more than outweigh the loss on the don't pass bet. Basically what he's doing here is he's switching over from the dark side to the light side, and that's why he's calling it light switch. So this big bet here on the point is the transition point from the dark to the light. Then we move on to step 4, and in step 4 we're just looking to see if a point was decided. Then what he wants to do is leave up the bets that have already been established. You went through all these gyrations with the don't pass and the lay bets and all that in order to get some bets out there. Now there's some bets out there. You happen to make the point, so you want to leave those bets out there and let them work as long as they can, making some money. But if the point is decided, then what he wants to do, he's going to take the, let's say the point was 9. So he's going to take the place bet for the last point, which was 9. And in this case, when we say a point is decided and we want to decide, or we want to make a decision based on what was decided, we have to say last point. Because once it's been decided, it's no longer a point. Hope that's clear. Anyway, you have to refer to the last point. So we're going to say that the place for the last point, in other words, place 9, is going to be equal to the last amount that was on place 9, that was 1. The last amount that was 1 on place 9. And he's going to subtract out the last amount that was on the don't pass. So in other words, you have $150 place 9. It wins. What does it pay? It pays $175. Subtract the $175 that was on the don't pass, that leaves $25. So in other words, place 9 is now going to become $25. Then it moves on to step 5. There really is no step 5, but by making our step go beyond the steps here, now it just means nothing is going to be executed until the shooter 7's out. We've got a statement up here. It says on a 7 out, it's going to reset to step 1 and start over. Okay, let me just talk about a few other little things here I added up on the top. When we're initializing the script here, we don't want to be laying odds automatically. He does have that one point where he is laying odds for a moment and then taking them down. So we don't want the computer to do it automatically. So we just make that false. Auto handle winning bets, we want to be the same bet. Whenever we begin a new session, Brian mentioned using a $1,000 bankroll, so we'll start with that. We're going to initialize to step 1. And then we want to run multiple sessions here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, if the bankroll falls below 450, then we're unable to make the initial 3 bets. So in that case, we want to start a new session. Or I'll just choose an arbitrary win goal here of 20%. So we're going to say if the bankroll is greater than beginning bankroll times 1.2, so in other words, we get above $1,200, we'll also start a new session. Now you can obviously adjust that, but that's where we're at. So let's try and take a look at that on the main screen here, just to see how it plays out. Here we are, come out roll, puck is off. It has $150 on the don't pass, $150 on lay 4 and lay 10. Let's say we rolled a 2. Don't pass wins, and nothing changes. Everything stays the same. All the bets remain the same. Let's say we roll an 11. Don't pass loses, but once again, everything remains the same. No changes in the bets. Let's say now we're going to roll a point of 9. Puck moves to 9. Lay bets come down. The inside, it starts out with a 110 inside, and then it removes the place bet that's on the point. So we end up actually here with 85 inside, and it bets $5 on the hard 4, $5 on the hard 10. Now, what we're looking for is 2 hits. Now, he's defining a hit as a place bet hit or a hardway hit. So let's say we were to roll place 5. That's 1 hit. And let's say we roll an 8. This will be 2 hits. And now everything changes. The 85 inside comes down. It switches over to 66 inside, not including the point. And it puts $2 on the hard 4, $2 on the hard 10. And then this big bet here, that's the light switch. The light switch comes on. Here's $150 place 9. That's to offset the $150 DP. So this is the point at which he's switching from the dark side to the light side. So as I mentioned before, let's say he's to roll a point of 9 right now. What's going to happen is the DP will lose, the place 9 will win, but we're going to take the difference between the two and bet it on the 9. So let's roll a 9. There you go. Okay, so that went down to 60. Let's see, I better double check that. It doesn't seem right. Maybe I had the payoff wrong. Anyway, you got the idea there. So we could run that out and run a little hyperdrive and see how that plays out. You can see on the bankroll screen here, it's not really lasting that long. Looks to me it's about 60 rolls. That one hit about 120. A lot of very short sessions here. So let me just stop it there for a moment. So think about that. If you only have a $1,000 bankroll and you're starting out with $450 out there, so if you were to roll 4 or 10, you know, you're losing $450 and follow it up with an 11. I mean, you can lose your bankroll very quickly, just a few rolls. So if you want to extend that out, you probably should use a larger bankroll. Anyway, we could run the hyperdrive and collect some sessions. But as you all know, I've already done that, and let's take a look at some of that. So I'm going to open up here, Lightswitch with the 1,000 bankroll, and here's just a little over 10,000 sessions. First of all, let's take a look at the rolls. I was just curious on that here. Looks like the average average session was 38.78 rolls long. The shortest session was only 2 rolls long. It means you lost everything in 2 rolls. Or I should say, not everything, but you lost below the $450 threshold, so you can't continue. The longest session was 382 rolls long. If we look at the amount won and lost, let's start up here in the corner. Notice we have 6,790 winning sessions. That's 66%. Not too bad. However, the average session lost $61.35. You can see the distribution here. Looking at the data, advantage comes out to minus 2.26. Now let's say we said, well, those are pretty short sessions, and if we were really playing at the table, we probably want to stick around a little bit longer than that. We don't want to bust out so soon. How about we up our bankroll here to $2,000? Let's go back and rerun that and run the hyperdrive, and once again, I've already done that. So now let's look at what this would be like for a $2,000 bankroll. 2,000 bankroll, again, a little over 10,000 sessions. We're still looking at about 66%, so that didn't really change. Looking at the histogram here, our average session, however, took a much bigger bite, loss of $270 per session. And on the data, we're looking at minus 2.01. So this turned out to be a little bit better, but that may be a function of the 10,000 sessions really not being enough. You really want to nail these numbers down. You're going to have to get many, many more sessions. This gives us a pretty good general idea, though. So let's think about one other thing here about these hardway bets. You know, he's using a DP here, which really is a pretty good bet, and we do have odds on at one point. But these hardway bets, they're not in great amounts, but they do have a very high house advantage. What if we were to turn those hardway bets off? Do you think that would make a difference? Why don't we give that a try? Let's go to the action menu, go to the auto bet screen, and let's just scroll down to So step number 2 here. You can see here where we're making the hardway bets. Let's just put a little apostrophe in front of each one of these. You know, when you put an apostrophe, it creates a comment where you can just enter verbiage, or you could use the comment to invalidate a line so that it's no longer code. It's just, it thinks that it's a comment. So let's comment out. Oops, I shouldn't have commented that one out. We're doing out the hardway bets. So we're commenting those out. So now no hardway bets are going to be made. And we could go back and run the system again. And I would say game, new. And we can just run it. We could run the hyperdrive. Oh, it looks like it's lasting a little bit longer here. Actually, you know what? Let me check and see. Let's, to compare, let's move that bankroll back down to 1,000 so we can compare it with the original. So let's redo that. Run the hyperdrive. Okay, there you go. The sessions look like they're about what they were before. However, let's go back to the sessions log and let's open up a file where I've created before 10,000 sessions of no hardway bets. Now we have a winning rate of 67.69%. So the win rate actually went up a little bit, not a tremendous amount, but a little. Average loss now is $51. And the advantage is minus 1.98. So let's think about those two numbers again. Let's look at the previous one just so to refresh our memory. Minus 1.98 and minus 51. Let's compare that to what we had before, which was minus 61 and minus 2.26. So just removing those hardway bets improved this system. You lost less per session and got a better advantage than you had before. So I don't know, some of these systems, it may be a fun way to play. You know, if it does happen to be your day to be hitting the hardways, it might be a lot of fun. But on average, it's going to cost you. You're just going to make out better if you don't use those high EV bets. That would be my recommendation. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that or got something out of it. Thanks for watching, and take care. Bye.